A few weeks back, KC Highlights reached out to me to see if I might be able to bring the K30 Blazer down to Big Bear this weekend. You see, they've got a really cool new product coming out and they're putting together a launch video. And I, of course, jumped at the opportunity. The opportunity to go four-wheeling in Big Bear with some cool people sounded great. But I do have a lot of work to get done before the Blazer is back up to fighting weight. If this is your first time to my channel, I want to say welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I am a self-taught mechanic and fabricator. I've been building my K5 Blazer for about 8 years now and passing along tips and tricks that I picked up along the way. If you are into building cool vehicles that are safe, practical, well, maybe not practical, but reliable, then you are in the right place. Make sure to give me a subscribe down below so you stay up to date on all my content, and I'll see you on the trails. There is a couple of projects that I've been putting on hold just because they were a pain in the neck when I was in my garage at home. And with the space, I've decided that I'm going to tackle them and bang them out. I started one of them yesterday. All it is I'm tying the slider to the frame, and then I'm tying the frame up to the roll cage. Now, I've done this on 3 corners so far of the truck, but I haven't done it on the driver's front. So I decided to do it yesterday. I pulled it up, I got on the lift, I got my measurements, and I started notching and cutting tube, and it just came together. While the square body frames have never been known for their strength, adding a roll cage gives you an option of taking a 2-dimensional structure and turning it into a 3-dimensional structure, increasing rigidity, strength, and reliability. I've taken the opportunity to put a connection between my cage at each of the pillars, the A pillar, B pillar, and C pillar, and down to the frame. In the case of my B pillar and A pillar, I was able to tie it into the sliders also. What this does is basically just give me an entire substructure, frame, sliders, cage, bumpers, that are now all one solid unit. I'm a big fan of this Harbor Freight hydraulic ram that I've used repeatedly to get things back into alignment and give me the space I needed to get the tube work in. I'm really happy with how this has come out, and I'm looking forward to putting it to test out on the trails. You guys may remember my video when I went out with Nick.
Got a gosh darn Duramax in it, folks.
And his Duramax-powered K5 Blazer, and we jumped and beat on the trucks out in Gorman. I'll link the video up here for those of you who haven't seen it. It's a fun one. I bent a bolt. Woo-wee! This is my lower mounting bolt for my driver's side front coilover. My bump stops were not engaging fully before the shock fully compressed, transferring a ton of that stress onto this poor grade 8 bolt. Luckily, this thing did its job and didn't snap, but I do need to replace it. Jumping your truck is pretty cool, but it's also really hard on the truck when it's not set up properly to be jumped. I have never tuned the suspension. I've increased the pressure, the nitrogen charge, and the reservoirs, but I've never done any valving changes. Adjustability is inherent in the design of a coilover suspension system. Being able to fine-tune the compression valving, the rebound valving, the preload, the spring rate, all of those things is what makes them so superior to an old-school leaf spring setup. I haven't taken advantage of that yet, and as a result, my truck's handling is suffering. I need to schedule some time out in the desert this winter with a professional tuner and check this one off of my list. Before I can get back on the trail, I do need to replace a broken radiator fan. I run a dual Spall fan, 16-inch flans with straight blades on my Griffin radiator, and they've worked fine forever. They're just really loud. Not only that, this one has stopped working. I think the spindle got damaged or something. But regardless, I pulled it off and I'm putting 2 new Spall fans on. But I'm dropping down in size. This is a 13-inch fan. The reason being will be clear in a minute. But Even though it's smaller, the curved paddle-style blades move more air. So it's supposed to be quieter, it's going to take more power, but it's going to move more CFM, or cubic feet per minute, through the radiator, hopefully improving cooling. But it is a lot taller than the old 16-inch, which when you add that to the tight confines I have in my engine compartment, I had some challenges fitting this. So I reached out to Griffin. They have produced a new shroud for me to run. I'm just waiting for it to get here so I can slap all this stuff back on, throw the radiator in, fill it with coolant, and hit the road.
The Spall fans have always done a good job of keeping my engine cool, but they were really loud. I'm hoping this new fan, despite being smaller, is able to cool the engine as well, but also be a little bit quieter. So let's take a listen.
Well, unfortunately, this is not Hollywood, and this is the real world, and sometimes the best laid plans go to waste. And in my case, I'm bummed to say I'm not going to be making it up to Big Bear for the video shoot with KC Highlights. I'm super bummed about this. These guys have been great to me, and I was looking forward to doing a video on a behind-the-scenes shoot. So I'll catch you up on what's happened, why the truck is back in the shop, but I do want to say thank you to Griffin, to Evans, and to JB Custom Fabrication. Griffin stamped out a brand new shroud for the new Spall fans I've got. JB Custom Fab sent me a brand new shift linkage, as my shift linkage is bad. That's one of the things I still need to do. And Evans Coolant sent me some more coolant, most of it overnight, and I just want to say thank you. It is truly appreciated, and it just makes me feel more guilty that I wasn't able to get up there for this trip. But it's been an eventful couple of days. Yesterday, my shroud showed up, so after school for all the kids and everything, I'd grabbed the shroud and headed up to the shop. It was around 5 o'clock last night. My objective was just put the fans on, put the shroud on, drop the radiator in, reconnect everything, fill it up, and boom, I was going to be done with one thing to do today. Well, everything was looking great. I got the fans on the shroud, everything went together perfectly, dropped the radiator in, clearances were good, everything's looking perfect. On the way home, my temperature started climbing. Yeah, no big deal. And then it just pegged itself and went into limp mode. And I'm like, oh, I can't catch a break. So that was an air pocket that I could not burp. I had been hasty in refilling the coolant system. And as a result, I had an air pocket somewhere. So I found an incline, parked on an incline, ran the truck a little bit, trying to get it to circulate, and ran the heater, did all the tricks, couldn't get the air bubble to pop, and so started to work my way back to my shop, which involved driving for about 30 seconds, going into limp mode, making it like another 100 yards, turning the truck off, letting it cool down, starting up and getting back. Fixed the air pocket, added some more fluid, cycled it through the heater, and boom, we were good. I was high-fiving myself again, and got on the freeway to head home. Everything's hunky-dory, or so I thought. This morning I had to run an errand down south, and so I took the truck early morning, and everything ran great. We had great heat coming through the heater. Everything was gold until the fan stopped working. But it turns out that the details are important, and the Spall fans that I've upgraded, the new fans, not only are they smaller, they are able to draw much higher CFM, 1200 CFM on the old fans compared to 1800 roughly on the new fans. The downside of this is their amp draw. Their amp draw is about 25 amps on startup, and then consistently around, they say around 21 amps. I'm seeing about 17, 18. As a result, resistance equals heat, heat equals melt, melt equals no working. So my fans melted my relays in my fuse box because the output and the switch pins got so hot that they melted. It melted part of the connector and then obviously stopped working. So back to square one. I can hardwire the fans up to the battery, which is what I've done right now, so I can at least, move it around. But yeah, I need a new harness for that. Pay attention to the details. That's my lesson here. Pay attention to the details. I should have looked at the amp draw of the new fan, compared it to what I had, and it would have been obvious that the relay for 30 amps that I had wasn't going to support the 40 amp recommendation that Spall had printed on the box. It happens. All's well that ends well. I am super bummed to not be getting up to Big Bear. That was going to be a fun trip. I've still got to jump under and replace the linkage, but I'm just going to mark this up as trial and error and a little bit of experience gained. Hopefully I can pass this on to you guys, that sometimes things do not go perfectly according to plan. Roll with it, adapt with it, you'll get through it. And sometimes it might help to read the instructions too.
So, this was not the outcome that I was hoping for. Things were looking so good until I became my own worst enemy and rushed the electrical install. Lesson learned. But all is not lost. I have a cool playlist for you guys. Click on the link right here that will take you to the playlist that I put together for Big Bear from the times I've been up there before. I hope you enjoy it. Give me a subscribe, a comment. Tell me all the dumb things you have done. And yeah, let's get back at it next week. We'll talk to you then. Merricks Garage.